This is one of the most quoted verses about prayer in the entire New Testament. It is also one of the most mishandled. It has been used to tell sick people they were not healed because they did not believe hard enough. It has been used to build entire theologies around God as a kind of vending machine that dispenses outcomes based on the quality of your faith. That is worth slowing down for. Mark 11 verse 24 says, "Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them." To understand what Jesus is actually saying here, you need to know what happened the day before. Jesus and his disciples were walking into Jerusalem when Jesus saw a fig tree in full leaf. He went to it looking for fruit and found none, leaves only. He cursed the tree, and they moved on. The next morning Peter noticed it had withered from the roots overnight. And Jesus responds to Peter's amazement with this teaching, "Have faith in God, and if you pray believing, you will receive." On the surface that looks like a straightforward promise. But there are things in the context that reshape it significantly. First, the fig tree itself. In Scripture, the fig tree is frequently used as a symbol for Israel and its religious life. Jesus had just entered Jerusalem to crowds waving palms and was about to cleanse the temple of money changers. The cursing of the fig tree was a prophetic sign, not a random display of power. It pointed at something, the gap between outward religious appearance and actual spiritual fruitfulness. Jesus was already teaching about what authentic faith looks like versus what merely looks the part. Second, the Greek tense behind "believe that ye receive them" is worth sitting with. The verb receive here is aorist, past tense. A more precise rendering would be "believe that you received them." This is not a technique for generating enough mental confidence to unlock an outcome. It is a description of a posture, the kind of settled trust that rests in the character and faithfulness of God right now, even before the visible answer has arrived. It is the same posture described in Hebrews 11 verse 1. Faith is a foundation, not a mechanism. Third, and this matters, Jesus himself modeled what prayer actually looks like in practice. In Gethsemane the night before his crucifixion, he prayed with full intensity, "Not what I will, but what thou wilt." The Apostle Paul prayed 3 times for a physical affliction to be removed and was told no, and came to understand that God's answer was better than his request. The people who believed most deeply, who had the closest relationship with God, did not receive everything they asked for exactly as they asked for it. That is not a failure of this verse. It is part of what the verse actually means. What Jesus is not saying is that prayer is a formula, that if you generate the right quality of belief, you produce the desired outcome. That reading places the entire weight of prayer on the human's performance, and it causes real damage. People pray earnestly, do not receive what they asked for, and conclude that God is not real, or that they were not faithful enough, or that prayer simply does not work. That conclusion is built on a misreading. What Jesus is saying is that there is a kind of prayer that operates from a completely different place than anxious bargaining or doubt-filled hoping. A prayer that comes from genuine trust in who God is, in his goodness, his power, his awareness of what you actually need, and that holds the request with open hands. That kind of prayer is not naive. It is not passive. It is the most grounded thing a person can do. The "what things soever ye desire" is not a blank check written to whoever can believe hard enough. Desire formed in an actual relationship with God, in time spent in Scripture and prayer, in genuine surrender to his will, begins to look different than the desire of someone treating God like a last resort. What you want when you are close to God is often not what you would have asked for from a distance. For us today, the real invitation of this verse is not "believe harder and get more." It is, learn to pray from a place of trust rather than fear, and watch what that kind of prayer does. The goal was never the acquisition of specific outcomes. The goal has always been a relationship deep enough that you can hold your requests with open hands, trusting that the one who hears them is both powerful enough and good enough to answer well. The takeaway: this verse is not a formula for getting what you want. It is a picture of what prayer looks like when it comes from genuine trust in a God who is good enough to say yes, no, or something better.